I just want to start by saying there's nothing wrong with investigative journalism. If someone is guilty, they should be exposed and brought to justice by any means. Remember, everyone is innocent before proven guilty. So, if you are trying to expose someone, don't be sloppy about it. So, this is Matt Wallace. He has been hyping his video that will bring down Bill Gates. It finally came out and has over 2 million views in a couple of days. His sycophant followers are lapping it up. For whatever reason, one of his main proofs is the Bill Gates divorce papers. Let's see if he proves anything. Or does he crash and burn?
Remove the person, remove the memory. Take a look at Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce papers. Remember this name, Paul Weiss.
Sure, Matt Wallace, I'll remember the name Paul Weiss. And after this video, I'll remember how Paul Weiss made you look like a fool.
But the rabbit hole gets deeper. Let's circle back to Bill and Melinda's divorce papers. The name Paul Weiss appears here at the bottom. If that name sounds familiar to you, that's because it is. Paul Weiss represented Sam Bankman-Fried briefly.
So, I have to pause here. Matt Wallace is showing a picture of Paul Weiss. But it's the wrong Paul Weiss. This guy is not a lawyer, but a scientist. But why put a picture up of a scientist? It's obviously a mistake, but there's a reason he can't show you a picture of the real Paul Weiss. And the reason will surprise you.
The name Paul Weiss appears here at the bottom. If that name sounds familiar to you, that's because it is. Paul Weiss represented Sam Bankman-Fried briefly before Sam Bankman-Fried hired Mark Cohen. Mark Cohen, by the way, is the same person who represented Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's #1 accomplice. The web is connected in more ways than you can even imagine.
So, Matt Wallace is trying to create a web to connect Bill Gates to Jeffrey Epstein. Paul Weiss represented crypto scammer Sam Bankman-Fried, but then stopped due to a conflict of interest. Then, Bankman-Fried gets a new lawyer, Mark Cohen. And Cohen had previously represented Ghislaine Maxwell. So, all this sounds good when Matt Wallace says it with confidence and authority and in his conspiratorial voice. But when you look at it, there is no connection. There's nothing in it. It proves nothing. And when I reveal Paul Weiss's real connection to Bill Gates, this supposed web will make less sense.
The web is connected in more ways than you can even imagine. Paul Weiss is the only signature, by the way, that's missing. Why would you be hired if you're not even going to bother to show up to sign it?
There is no missing signature. He is showing you the page footer. He is showing you an empty space above a line and trying to convince you there should be a signature there. He is showing you this random part of a document to trick you into thinking there should be a signature. But there is a signature. Not on a page footer, but where it belongs. And he actually showed it to you.
The name Paul Weiss appears here at the bottom. If that name sounds familiar to you, that's because it is.
But it's not at the bottom of the page, it's at the top of page 4. It's signed by Bill Birenbaum, a lawyer working for the firm of Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton and Garrison. The owners of a law firm don't have to sign everything. They employ lawyers that can sign on behalf of the business. There is no missing signature.
The web is connected in more ways than you can even imagine. Paul Weiss is the only signature, by the way, that's missing. Why would you be hired if you're not even going to bother to show up to sign it? It appears that Paul's job was to try to prevent information about Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates from coming out, and therefore his presence was not necessary at signing. Unfortunately for Bill, though, he did not do a very good job of that. It gets worse, though.
You're right, Matt Wallace. It does get worse. For you. So, Paul's job was to prevent information from coming out. His job was to protect Bill Gates. But why would Paul Weiss want to protect Bill Gates? Well, he wouldn't, because he never worked for Bill Gates. He worked for Melinda. He represented the petitioner in the divorce. And who is the petitioner? Melinda Gates. This whole time, Matt Wallace is trying to convince you Paul Weiss is working to look after the interests and protect Bill Gates. But he actually represents Melinda Gates in this divorce against Bill Gates. So, remember how Matt Wallace mistakenly showed the picture of a scientist? And I said he couldn't show the picture of the real Paul Weiss? Well, that's because you can't show a picture of someone that doesn't exist. There is no such person as the Paul Weiss he has been talking about. But there is a law firm. See the comma? The firm's name is Paul, Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton and Garrison. The Paul comes from Randolph Paul, a founder of the law firm. The Weiss comes from Louis Weiss, another founder of the law firm. Sorry, Matt Wallace. You showed a false picture because no real picture exists. The Paul Weiss law firm never worked for Bill Gates. There is no missing signature. There is no link to Epstein through Paul Weiss. There is no Paul Weiss protecting Bill Gates because the man you are talking about, who you call Paul Weiss, does not exist. So, back to my original question. Did he succeed in proving anything, or did he crash and burn? Here's a clue.
Oh, the humanity.